And for your sake, I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we might die with him. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them on the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is come into the world. After she said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and he's asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews that had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? The in-betweens in this one. Jesus is in between his ministry, the disciples are in between their learning, and this family is waiting for a response. And that's just the beginning of all the in-betweens. This takes place right after Jesus was nearly stoned by the Jewish leaders. So things are starting to heat up and become a little bit more dangerous for him. Now, Martha and Mary lived in Bethany. Now again, this is a village just outside of Jerusalem. So for the disciples, this is a little close for comfort. Now Martha and Mary and Lazarus, as we know, they've been following him. They know of his powers to heal. So it's natural for them to reach out to him in hopes of him coming to Lazarus' aid. Have you ever been waiting for a response from someone? A friend, a boss, a mentor, or God? We can find ourselves many times in those in-between spaces. We're waiting for that response to our need, our pain, our circumstance, maybe a decision, or perhaps we just need some clarity of what's going on in this space. So, what is each one of these people waiting for? Well, Martha and Mary and Lazarus, they're waiting for his response. They want healing. They want restoration. Jesus, well, he's waiting on timing. He knows things are starting to heat up. This 12-hour thing that he talked about. There's 12 hours of daylight. What does that mean? Well, for him, he knows he has a set number of daylight in which to accomplish the deeds that his Father has set out for him. And part of accomplishing these deeds is raising Lazarus. So he knows this is all part of the plan, and it takes timing, and it takes all these things to happen first. He's glad for this lesson. Oh, how many of us can say, oh yeah, I'm glad for that lesson. Woo! Yeah, he knew it would show his powers, and it would strengthen his believers. It would strengthen their faith. There was good to come out of this depth. There was this foreshadowing of his. I mean, this turn of events is very powerful in this story. His disciples, well, they're just waiting for him to lead them to where they're supposed to go, right? They might question him. They may say, hey, wait a minute, that's a little scary to go there. But they would always follow him, wouldn't they? They were always going with him. Clarity, they're confused. He's sleeping. Oh, well, shoo, that's good. He's just sleeping. All right, he's going to get better, right? Right? We don't have to go. We can stay here. They are hiding out right now. That's what they're doing. They're hiding out. And they're safe. They're fine. They're happy. But now he's talking about, ooh, might have to go see Lazarus. Ooh, this is a scary thing. And didn't Jesus heal that centurion's servant? Did he go? No. What did he do? He just said the word, right? So they're thinking, Jesus doesn't have to go, does he? No. Now, normally when we send for help, we kind of think somebody's going to respond right away, right? But as we know, it's his timing, and his timing doesn't always match our timing. And we can get stuck in this in-between waiting for him. So what happens when they finally respond? Let's see. Jesus, he arrived too late to heal him, right? He can't just heal him. No, that's all part of the timing. This isn't what he was supposed to do. In Jesus' day, it was believed that a person's spirit would hover over the body for 3 days. So if the body was brought back, the spirit would return, resuscitated, it would return to him, right? But after 3 days, there's no hope that anything's returning, right? That person's dead. That's what they believed. So by him being dead that long, this would ensure that the Jewish authorities couldn't just dismiss this. This was clearly going to be a miracle. There was no coming up with some other way. There was no pharaohs, people making other things happen. No, this was a true miracle. So now he faces Martha. Martha comes first. Now, Martha, remember, she was the one, I think a lot of us women can kind of understand Martha a little bit. She was the one that complained to Jesus because Mary was getting to sit at his feet and she wasn't helping with any of the preparations, and she wanted to have everything right and everything ready. And there was Mary getting to be able to enjoy Jesus. And Jesus said, no, Mary's right, you're wrong, Martha. You need to come join us. So she's the older sister, and she's kind of OCD. And anyway, we've gotten to know her. And so she comes, and it's too bad that we can't hear the tone and the inflection. It's kind of like getting that text or that email, and you don't know really, what do they mean by this? Are they saying something kind of passive aggressive, or are they really saying what they mean? So we don't know. Why didn't you come when we reached out? Are we not important to you? This wouldn't have happened if you had been here, right? That's what she could have been saying. It's all your fault. It's all your fault, right? Or was she instead saying, Lord, I know if you had been here, you would have been healed. There's no question. It would have been done. Now, the commentaries are a little, you can get both sides of that coin. But the things that she said that stood out to me, that it was an affirmation, she added, but even now, whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Even if, remember, even if, the fiery furnace, even now, God will give you what you ask. So those are such powerful words, and we got to remember those words. When he assures her that her brother will rise again in verse 23, it isn't clear if she understood or dared not to hope, because she did confirm her belief of the resurrection at the last day. Now, this was a very hotly debated subject. The Pharisees believed that there would be a final resurrection. The Sadducees did not. So he responds with the "I am the resurrection and life." This is the fifth of his 7 "I am" statements in the Gospel of John. I am the bread. I am the light of the world. I am the door. I am the good shepherd. I am the resurrection. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the true vine. So, he is saying that he is the very power of God into life. Then he added, He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? So, that means if one meets the precondition of believing on Jesus, he will live, even though he dies. So we may go through this physical transition of a physical death, but death cannot destroy the life that Christ has given us. And she confirms that she understands this. And this is such a great confession of faith in the midst of her sorrow and her grief and her trying to wrap her head about where she is in this place. She seems to be trying to reason through her pain. She's leaning on what she's been taught and what she understands. So now we go to Mary. Now, I'm kind of surprised that Mary wasn't the first one to go see him. I really am. I don't know if maybe she didn't know right away. But anyway, Martha goes and tells her that he's there and he would like to see her. And she does immediately respond at that point in time. And she goes, the crowd follows her because they think she's going out to mourn, right? And there's something so beautiful about people coming together when we're mourning, isn't there? It can be so hard at times to know what to say and how to be there in that midst, but the important thing is that you're there with them when they're in that space, in that in-between space. So it's important as a community that when people are in these in-between spaces, that we find space for them. So once again, we don't know the tones, we don't know the inflections. She basically says the exact same thing, right? Now, so we don't know if she's rebuking, but she does fall down at his feet, which might be reverence, might just be the whole total overwhelmed with the grief, the pain, the loss, and kind of like, why didn't he respond, you know? She seems so overwhelmed by emotions, and he grieves with them. We know he is close to the brokenhearted. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Now, in my research, the original word that they translated troubled can mean agitated, which usually indicates some kind of irritation. I can't think that Jesus would have been irritated in this instance because we've seen him irritated. We have seen him really irritated. I believe that because of his love for us, to see this torment of loss touched his humanity. He has never liked to see us mourn. He calls them mourn blessed. And he knows soon he's going to be leaving them. The divine mourns this unbelief that she has, this not knowing what this really means. And he's joining the Holy Spirit in mourning with and for her as she pierces him with those accusations that hurt. Because he did wait. He did heal him. But the thing is, the beauty of it, he knows, I wasn't too late. It's going to be so much greater than this. It wasn't that they didn't matter enough, that he didn't love them as much as they thought. He loved them so much. He was going to include them as a very important participants in the redemption story. And sometimes when we're in these waiting periods, when we're in these in-between places, we can too look at ourselves as victims. And we've got to remember, we've got to fall at his feet. We've got to prepare for the long haul. We've got to guard our hearts. We've got to abide in his word. We've got to pray through and without ceasing. Like that little boy when he was swimming, he was going through those worship songs in his head, and he was praying. And of course he did the typical, if you get me there, God, I'll devote my life to you. But I think we've all been there. And I'll give you more, God. Just get me, right? Just get me there. So in our in-between moments, we got to remember that they can be emotional and so overwhelming. And they can make you react. You can sometimes, trauma, they call it freeze or fawn. If you freeze, you just don't do anything. You're just motionless because you don't know how. You don't know which way to move. And then sometimes you can go and you can get disassociated. Sometimes you can just go along with it because you don't know what else to do because you're so overwhelmed. Sometimes you can rationalize and reason. And a lot of times we're always trying to control it with our own powers and not just letting it go. Right? We're good at that. We're good at holding on, but we're really bad about letting go. So we have to remember, he is always accessible. We have prayer. We have his word. We have our church. There's numerous resources out there to connect with him. We don't have to know the why, the whens, or the hows. We just have to trust him. We have to trust that everything is for his glory and our good. We don't have to be alone in that space. We don't have to lean on our own understanding. We can cry out. I don't think we can, I guess we could send a letter, but I don't know what the postage would be. But our letters we can pray. We can pray. We can cry. We can mourn. We can grieve. We can even lash out if we want to. But in the end, we have to submit to his will and trust that he will get us through. He will get us through. Not our own power. So, if you're one of those that's in one of those really hard in-between places, grief, maybe you're trying to make a decision and you're getting really fatigued by it. Maybe there's a misunderstanding that's got some trouble between you and somebody else, or maybe you're just feeling lost and you don't know which step to take next. And remember, if you are hanging on by a thread, like the lady that grabbed his thread to get healed, the hem of his garment to be healed, remember that you can hang on. You can hang on too. Make sure that it is the thread of his garment. And hang on, Snoopy. Hang on. Now, if you're in an in-between of where to go next, our closing song is, what are we waiting for? We know what Jesus was waiting for in this story. He didn't rush to heal Lazarus because it was God's timing. This song is about that in-between of movement from day-to-day living in the present and what we're being called to do and what we need to be ready to do when he calls us into action, to lean in and trust him completely. Now, during our personal prayer time, I want you to feel free to come up and pray. And if you're in one of those in-between spaces and you need somebody to pray with you, just raise your hand when you get up here. Just raise your hand. Somebody will come up and pray with you if you need that. And that's it.